Hey, what's up guys, this is Apollo Uchiha here, back with the final part of What If Naruto Had Enough with Jiraya. Now before continuing this, if you haven't, then please do leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. And yeah guys, the background noises of fan, yeah, still didn't get my AC fixed. Story about that, we'll do in future. Anyways, without further ado, let's continue with our story.
Pain was dead, not just his path, but the man himself. To Uchiha Obito, aka Tobi, of the Akatsuki, it was of not great loss. The man was dying for some time now and was only alive due to his Uzumaki genetics. What did matter was the Uzumaki had somehow learned of the Moon Eye plan, Vyazetsu's death, and decided to ruin it. Not only did the fool Nagato manage to weaken him during their fight, but stall him long enough for his paper bitch of a woman to take the Rinnegan eyes once belonging to Uchiha Madara and leave Ame for Konoha. How would he get now those eyes? He would have persuaded Konan, but Nagato had used the last of his chakra to create a barrier seal tied to his life force that prevented him from leaving it. Even the Uchiha's own Kamui ability was proven ineffective and had to wait until Nagato died, which sadly was several days. Damn Uzumakis and their seals. It was any wonder their clan was destroyed. Zetsu had done his job well over the years in manipulating certain events to bring fear to the hearts and minds of the other. When it came to that clan, the Uzumaki and their intimate mastery over Funjutsu would have been a threat to the overall plan, at least according to the plant-like creature, and he had gone from village to village to spread fear of the clan, all in order to make them all against the Uzumaki clan and prevent their skills in Funjutsu from being allowed to grow. Only now it seemed that skill had come back to bite him, and the Moon Eye planned right in the ass for one last act of defiance. By the time Obito got free from the seal barrier, he was sure Konan had already made it to Konoha. Going anywhere else would have been foolish for her, and told them everything she knew, considering she was Nagato's right hand and knew about him being the true leader. Obito knew he would have to act on his own at this point. He would have to take all the heavy hitters from each shinobi village in order to truly break them long enough for him get all 9 bijus into the statue. The Uchiha had hoped to revive Madara to make things easier in crushing the future opposition of the big 5 shinobi villages, but without the Rinnegan or the Ede Tensei. For that matter, Obito was on his own now. Not that it mattered, Obito was strong enough to handle them all should a fight break out against them, should they band together. Once all these enemies were crushed, Obito would form the Jubi once more, and use his eyes to take control of it in order for the seal the creature into his body. With his newfound power, the Uchiha would use the moon itself to cast a worldwide Tsukiyomi and bring the world under his control. A world where Rin lived and they could be together. A world without Kushina. A world without her son or the Uzumaki clan. A world without people like Danzo, Orochimaru, and even Kakashi. A world where all things were perfect to him and him alone. We have been doing this in the wrong order. We have been targeting the weakest to the strongest of the Biju. We should have done it in reverse. So that is what I will do. With the QB under my control, I will have to attack Konoha within its own walls and go or next Kumo. Once done, I will target the other shinobi villages until they are broken and disorganized, with their Jinchurikis dead or badly wounded. Once I obtain all 9 bijus, I will seal them into the statue here in Ame while under my Sharingan's power, so there will be no screw-ups, said Obito to himself before leaving via Kamui. He never noticed blackish-grey tone, looking more like a statue, was watching him silently before it went poof to report his findings. Konoha Hokage Tower. Sometimes later, Konan was a big help with this intel. To think Uchiha Obito was alive all this time, and even Madara himself to a point, commented Tsunade while reading the report Ibiki had given her after Konan had submitted to his interrogation. Konan even placed a preservation jar with the Rinnegan into the Hokage's hand as a show of good faith of her willingness to cooperate. Everything she knew and Nagato knew from the past to their recent action had been written up into the multiple reports for the Hokage to read. Even them Hokage second student going rogue, all because of what those white Zetsu creature impersonating Kirinin did to his third one. Madara must have realized in order to turn Obito against Konoha, he would have to take away what mattered most to his new student. That's just cruel, said Ibiki with a sigh. Since it was cruel to turn someone into a monster just so you can carry out a plan you think you made up, but really didn't. What do we do with this eyes she gave us? Asked Naruto, who felt it was necessary to hear what became of his father's remaining two, and though to be deceased student. Hard to say. We could destroy them once Obito wants them badly for his plan to revive Madara and use his former sensei to put us on the defensive, or I could transplant them into someone who can handle them. Sasuke with Naruto looking surprised, and so did Ibiki. Not to question your judgment or ideas, Hokage-sama, but the letter you just mentioned doesn't seem to be a wise choice here. Those eyes are said to be the most powerful, if not most legendary dojutsu which the world has ever seen. The Rinnegan is said to once belong to the eyes of the sage himself. To give someone those eyes would be risky, countered Ibiki, with Naruto nodding. Yeah, and who would you choose? You can give it to the nicest guy around and he could still use those things with the intent of being a real power-hungry jerk, thinking they could do whatever they want, added Naruto, with Tsunade nodding since it was true. Plus, for what Tsunade knew about the origin of these eyes in question, anyone with them could come to the belief they were invincible, considering what happened, how the user of these eyes had called himself a god intent on bringing pain to the world. It was no real surprise. Still, she had one candidate though. Whether he could take the change or the power that went with it was debatable. When Konoha delivered these eyes, she mentioned how after saving Jiraiya's stupid life, you told her along with pain that he was in fact your cousin. A fellow member of the Uzumaki clan like yourself, says Tsunade, with Naruto nodding and frowning at the same time. Yeah, I just wish he didn't go down the route he did. What was Erosanin thinking when he didn't take them with him from Ame? It's an actual member of the Uzumaki clan, and he could have brought to Konoha. My mother could have been a fellow clansman to talk to when growing up here. His presence here could have shifted the events when the fox was freed by Uchiha Obito on the night of my birth. After my birth, even with him raising me due to blood relations if my parents didn't survive, said Naruto while he was inwardly cursing Erosanin for his stupidity and arrogance. He was no doubt thinking with his penis as usual, which would explain why his IQ is so small since it matches the size, remarked Tsunade while Ibiki winced at the insult and felt as if almost all the pride males everywhere had just downsized considerably. Naruto didn't look the least bit affected by the statement, which made Ibiki conclude the boy was well secure in his masculinity on all fronts. You were about to make a point, Hokage-sama, commented Ibiki while Tsunade was looking at the jar on her desk, holding the eyes of the sage. Yes, when Konan came here with the eyes, she asked that if we decide to give them to someone, it would be a person she believed would use them wisely, says Tsunade as she saw the two shinobi in front of her look on with interest. Really? Who did she recommend it? Asked Naruto curiously. You. She recommended you, Naruto. Answered Tsunade while Naruto looked shocked. Me? Seriously? Asked Naruto while Ibiki looked like he was just told everything he did in life never mattered and he had wasted years doing what he did best. Either that or the man was envisioning the horrible pranks Naruto would cook up with the power of those eyes at his command. Maybe both. Yes, she sees greatness in you. Naruto, Konan believes in you. While respectfully not in the way of bringing the everlasting peace your stupid prophecy foretold, she believes you can at the very least, keep things with all 5 shinobi villages balanced. I'm inclined to agree with her. After all, the good you have done cleaning up Chiraya's mess, exposing Danzo, Orochimaru's death, Kabuto's death, the vast majority of the Akatsuki being killed off, is it any surprise? Answered Tsunade while Naruto looked at the eyes in the jar with a sense of hesitation. This wasn't like stealing the Forbidden Scroll incident, where he opened it and learned a jutsu to graduate. No, this was worse, since these eyes had the power to do all sorts of crazy shit and all at the command of whoever had them in their eye socket. Do you trust me with these things? These are the eyes said to belong to the sage of the 6 paths after all, warned Naruto, showing a great deal of maturity for his age. Clearly the Toads had taught him well, being respectful when using power unless you wish to be corrupted by it. Strangely enough, I do trust you. Besides, if what Konan said is true, our enemies will not stay delayed for much longer. For what the woman informed us, Obito, he was badly injured, so it will take time to recover him. We can use this time to transplant the eyes into you and use them against him when the time comes to attack, said Tsunade while Naruto nodded and decided that if these people, one of which was a former Katsuki, were all willing to trust him with the sage eyes, Why not? I would also provide additional security on the Forbidden Scroll. If these eyes were a part of large plan to bring back the real Madara, I'd bet 10 years worth of ramen. The second part involves the Forbidden Scroll, said Naruto while Tsunade agrees since using both of these mentioned parts would spell completely doom for anyone opposing Obito if he got their hands on either one of them together. I take it you're having something in mind. Asked Tsunade with Naruto nodded. I do, but I need the blood of Uchiha Obito or a closely family relative you have on file to make this work, said Naruto while Tsunade raising an eyebrow. I'll get you a sample of the blood on file, but it wouldn't matter much. After all, the Uchiha clan was wiped out by Itachi, Danzo and the elders pushed for all the stored Uchiha blood at the hospital to be destroyed since there was no point in having so much for dead people, replied Tsunade while Naruto frowned. Let me guess, he oversaw the operation. Us, Naruto was Tsunade frowning. Yes, though we had confirmed Danzo did destroy most of the blood from all the documents found in his root base underneath Konoha. I would wager he gave some to the Orochimaru to help with the experiments regarding that abomination for a hidden arm he was concealing, says Tsunade, knowing that whatever sample Danzo gave Orochimaru was not enough for the son to use for his own personal use. I just need enough for what is in a file, barely a veil of it. His medicine records have a seal holding right arm. Over Naruto, since he knew medical records also held a single veil of the blood taking from the patient's last physical. Yes, though we'll have to dig up through the medical archives to obtain it. Up until now, the man has been presumed dead after Kakashi and his fellow teammate reported him dead. Though the file should be here. I did them physical myself and drew the blood in it, so getting the veil shouldn't be difficult, says Tsunade while Naruto nodded. I'll do the security measures first. Once done, you can bring the transplant, said Naruto, since securing the scrolls of sealing first was the best choice. Besides, Tsunade would need to prepare for the operation for transplanting the eyes anyway. Konoha sometime later. Obito was not in a good mood. The phantom pain from his injuries were acting up. He was able to get some of the white Zetsu parts to replace what was damaged during the fight with Nagato's 6 spots and Conan's interference. Unfortunately, the parts Obito needed were not up to par with what he had prior to the injuries sustained in the battle. The paper bitch had sabotaged his entire supply of body parts and organs, including his own supply of Sharingan eyes he obtained when the Uchiha clan was killed before Danzo's root had come to take the rest. No matter, once he had the scroll of sealing, the Uchiha intend to unleash a whole storm shit down upon Konoha before targeting the other shinobi villages. He just needed to subdue one of the stronger level Jonins shinobi in the village before he used them for his sacrifice to bring back a few notorious S-rank nins from legend. One would be Madara Uchiha, of course, but Obito wanted some extra muscle he could call up to protect him while getting all the 9 bijus in the statue. Using Kamui, the Uchiha entered the Hokage office, knowing she wasn't there so late at night unless it was a major emergency. Walking to the safe where the scroll of sealing was located, Obito easily used the combination he knew would open it. In a rare act of sheer stupidity to those wearing the hat, the combination had never been changed since the time of the Shodai Hokage. The combination itself was meant to be known only to each Hokage in power, but there were times when a certain selected group of people learned it as a sign of trust by the Hokage in question. But in Obito's case, it was in the form of Orochimaru when he joined the Akatsuki after he went rogue. The Shodai Sandaime during the Third War had planned to retire and was going to name Minato the Hokage in the coming weeks. Orochimaru had gone wrong since soon after, before joining the Akatsuki, can unknowingly reveal it to him under the powerful hypnosis the Sharingan can create on someone. He could have used it to get the Edo Tensei, but at the time Obito didn't know Orochimaru knew how to use the jutsu. It wasn't until the Sannin used it when attacking the Sun time did the man realize what a lost opportunity it had been on his end. One he now planned to fix here and now. Only this time, the end result would favor him. Outside of Konoha's secret location, Naruto smirked when he saw Obito appear in front of him. A look of shock behind his masked face was no doubt there since he was looking around frantically. No doubt he had just touched the forbidden scroll of sealing and the next was found here. No sooner had the masked Uchiha appeared did Naruto give the signal and a barrier went up around the two men. Hello, Tobi. Or should I call you by your real name, Uchiha Obito? Asked Naruto while Obito glared at him behind the mask. So you know, commented Obito before his eyes widened when he saw the blown eyes and the fact they were no longer blue. Conan told us a lot about you. Not to mention the toads are excellent for spying. I just needed to have some of them who are indigenous to Ame, hoping around. No one is the wiser. Not even you. They have been spying on you and the Akatsuki for some time and telling me about all the movements that you were planning. And to the fact Nagato killed Zetsu after ripping out his soul, I know the truth about the reason behind your actions and how you are just a puppet for the real mastermind behind this, said Naruto while Obito scowled before he removed his mask to reveal his scared face. Madara doesn't not control me. My actions are my own, said Obito while Naruto scoffed. Madara? I never said it was Madara. Hell, he was being as a puppet too. Black Zetsu was never Madara Uchiha's will. It was Kaguya's, the mother of the Sage of the Six Paths. She tricked Madara into thinking Zetsu's will was his own. Zetsu was going to use you, Madara, and everyone else they could get their hands on to fulfill her ambition to one day return to the land of living after being sealed away by her own sons during their battle, explained Naruto while Obito narrowed his eyes at him. No, the Moon Eye plans would have brought peace. Zetsu explained it to me in great detail. There's no way he could have made that up, said Obito while Naruto shrugged. Oh, the Moon Eye plan was real, but you wouldn't be the one to use it. Kaguya would be the one to use it. She would trap us all in Infinite Tsukiyomi just like you wanted to do. But unlike your version of things, those who oppose her would either be dead or be trapped in the genjutsu, living a lie created with our own minds until eventually we die, answered Naruto while Obito looked livid at his words before claiming down that he was wrong and slightly calming down. It doesn't matter. The Moon Eye plan will bring about peace to the world. With it, I will be able to have Rin by my side. With it, my dream will become reality. With it, no one I care about will die, while those who are insignificant will not longer exist, exclaimed a now clearly deranged Obito while Naruto frowned. Even after hearing the truth, you still want to go through with this? All for what? A girl that is dead and can't come back to you unless she's an illusion? A fake made from your own imagination and a memory of her. What happens when you get tired of her, Obito? When the joy from being an illusion and lie becomes too painful to handle whenever you see the fake standing there, you'll destroy the illusion, the genjutsu itself, when the lie becomes more painful than the truth, asked Naruto, while Obito looked angry and was not amused. My world will become real. My world is all that matter. Rin is all that matter. I will have Rin back, one way or another, exclaimed Obito while Naruto scoffed again. If that were true, why not use the Edo Tensei to bring her back then? You could have tricked Orochimaru into doing it and wrestled control of her from him using your Sharingan. Hell, you could have asked for him for the hand sense for the Edo Tensei, but you didn't. Why? Because you knew if you do, the real Rin would disapprove of your actions. You want to live a lie because the fake Rin couldn't care, and you can lie right to her face, even every time if the question ever came up. Face it, Obito, you want to live a lie because the truth is far too painful to believe in and live in, and the very thought of ending your life or the next world scares you even more, all because we both know that if you die one way or another, the place where Rin now resides, you can't enter there ever, said Naruto harshly while Obito seethed in rage at his words. Since deep in his heart, Obito knew the words spoken by Naruto were completely true. Deep down, the Uchiha did fear his own that, after all, he had done, the things he had helped orchestrate, the lives taken, good lives, honest lives. Obito knew where his soul was going up on his death. It was going south, the deep south. Rin was no doubt located in heaven, and happy there. He could have used Edo Tensei once learning it, or used his Sharingan to make Orochimaru do it before taking control afterwards. But as Naruto said, Rin would have seen his action and disapproved of them, yelled at him, screamed at him. She would have denounced his action, denounced their friendship. She would have called him a monster. So yes, Obito chose to create a lie, create a false Rin, simply because the fake one would not care, would not hate him, would not judge him, because the lie was easier to handle, the truth this world produced. But was he going to openly admit it? And to his late senses brat? Hell no, shame, your opinion means nothing to me. All that matters is my ambition, because real Rin is by my side, while you, your mother, your father, and every other person opposing me are removed from my existence, exclaimed Obito while Naruto smirked. Then come at me. I have something you want, something you need. Not only the fox in my belly, but the sage of the eyes of the sage themselves. The barrier will ensure no one interferes in our fight. It will also nullify your ability to use Kamui, just in case you decided to act like a fucking coward and retreat, just like you did when he bested your stupid ass, said Naruto while Obito clenched his teeth and fist. And yet I was the one who to walk away from the fight alive, not him. His victory over me was hollow. He died. His wife died. You were left to rot in the village that hates your guts, that will keep hating your gut. Even if you became Hokage, I imagine it will be difficult to rule over a village that would sooner burn itself to the ground or accepting you as its ruler, said Obito mockingly when Naruto shrugged. Well, if these people don't like me as Hokage, they can either kill themselves or leave the village and go live in a cave. When it comes to the arrogant, the bigots, and the overall assholes Konoha has produced, I honestly don't give a fuck about them. If they were to be attacked right here, right now, by an invading force, I would simply let them die. I would spare only those who were worthy of sparing, said Naruto humbly without a shame in his heart. Your parents would have been disappointed in you, commented Obito, with Naruto smirking at him. Not really. They both left a piece of themselves inside the seal as a failsafe, just in case things went south in holding the Biju at bay. I told them everything that happened to me during my childhood and everything else following it. They agree with me and my way of thinking, that I should protect only people worth protecting and say fuck you to everyone else in the village. Oh, by the way, the fuck you part I just quoted, that was addressed to you too. In fact, my mother went on a rant calling you a crying baby bitch who wouldn't be able to satisfy any woman, let alone grin, because of your inadequate small dick was equipped with a quick shot motion attached to it, while her hair came alive. It was actually quite a sight, said Naruto while seeing Obito looking even more enraged. I should have slowly killed your bitch of a mother after I ripped the fox off her girth, exclaimed Obito angrily. Yeah, well, as she so adequately put in her ranked, fuck you too, said Naruto, with Obito now moving to injure and take the eyes from the blonde Uzumaki, only for Naruto to grab the offender hand, reaching for his eyes. You're fast, but I fought and trained under much people faster than you, said Naruto before he was stabbed in the gut by a kunai in Obito's forehead. They should have trained you to be smart instead of fast. I'm taking the fox from you, and I'm taking those eyes, stated Obito, but was shocked when Naruto in front of him went poof in, and it was a shadow clone, as it was revealed, and found a pair of hands grabbing his ankles to yank him into the ground. They did. In fact, they trained me to be both smart and fast. Shame it couldn't be said for you and your clan. One would think that the student of the Yontam Hokage and Uchiha Madara himself would have actual brains to go with his so-called strength, but of course it is no real wonder you are considered to be a disappointment, said Naruto for popping up from the ground and staring at the Uchiha with amusement. I have more knowledge and skill in my right hand than you do in your entire body, said Obito before getting out of the hole after using his chakra to burst out violently. That might be true, if not for the fact masturbation doesn't count as a skill. If it did, you wouldn't, no doubt, be considered a prodigy in the field, mocked Naruto while Obito face no match the color of his eyes and charged the Uzumaki in a fit of rage. I'm going to fucking murder you. I'm going to rip the fox out and turn it on Konoha. I'm going to laugh as the fox spills the blood of the entire village, and all the friends you have here will die, and I will laugh as they were all slaughtered, exclaimed Obito while he launched himself at Naruto with pure taijutsu while his Sharingan eyes were spinning. Difficult to do when you can't even land a hit on me, said Naruto before he caught Obito's fist with bare hands and kneed the Uchiha in the balls hard. Your father wouldn't have done this, gasped Obito before Naruto did it again, and the struggled Uchiha wondered why he didn't phase through the hit. I'm not my father. And to answer the question, no doubt running through your head, the seal I placed on you along with the barrier also nullifies your little pussy move. I mean, honestly, Uchiha faces when someone tries to hit you. What? You can't handle a punch or someone? I'd kick? I've been punched, kicked, stabbed, and poisoned since I have a child. Yet, when it comes to taking shit from someone like me, the first thing you want to do is phase through it because of your fear of the little pain. Ha! Some big bad Uchiha you claim to be. Madara must have been desperate to choose you as a student before his death, since taking a single hit practically makes you want to pee yourself like a baby. Mocked Naruto before a quick headbutt Obito while the Konoha headband on his forehead was damaged. Seal? When did he put a seal on me? Was it his shadow clone? Thought Obito before he was struck again and again by Naruto with the blonde shattering the Uchiha's right leg. You are so weak, Obito. It's no wonder you hid yourself from everyone with that fucking mask. You didn't train. You didn't fight. You simply use your fucking Sharingan eyes to do the legwork. But take those eyes and powers of the Jujutsu away. Fighting someone like me on even grounds, you're just a weak chicken little pansy. Shit. said Naruto before taking out a kunai covered in wind chakra and sliced it across Obito's face in X formation, causing both Sharingan eyes out of the Uchiha sockets. In addition, the pieces of him that were the spare parts of Zetsu, such as his arm, had been taken from storage and sliced off next. Uchiha Obito would have screamed out further in pain, but Naruto flipped the kunai until the ring base of the weapon hits the Uchiha right in the jaw 4 times, 2 of the left side and 2 of the right. The force was strong enough to break Uchiha's jaw entirely and had his tongue cut off next. It wasn't supposed to end this way. My dream, my ambition, I could have been with Rin again, my precious Rin, thought Uchiha Obito while his blood came out of his mouth, while only the darkness of being recently blind was there to greet him. Don't feel back, Obito. If you must know, your former teammate Hatake Kakashi is a failure in his own right too. I was his sensei's son, yet what he does, he trains the Uchiha on my team and leaves little old me to fend off for myself when it comes to training. And do you know what happened next? My said teammate goes rogue, using those very same skills my sensei taught him against me, to kill me, all for the sake of power. All to kill his fucking far more experienced as a ninja for a big brother. Well, it doesn't matter anymore. After today, the Uchiha clan will be no more. The clan will be dead and will only be a myth for story parents to tell their children, said Naruto before slicing off Uchiha's real hand to the wrist. I need to do something, anything. Minato-sensei, Kushina-san, Rin-chan, hell, even Kakashi-baka, someone please help me, told Obito before he heard Naruto's final words to him. Goodbye, Obito. May you and the rest of your power-hungry clan rot in the lowest pits of hell alongside with Orochimaru, Kabuto, Tanzo, and the other members of the Akatsuki you're helping bring into its ranks. Shinra Tensei, exclaimed Naruto while using a move that Conan had told him about and explained further. Any other powers the Rinnegan was capable of doing without reveal themselves in time. That's how Nagato did it, and he didn't really share all of his skills with her. As for Obito, he was completely obliterated from existence. All that was left was a dark black blood smear on the ground. Something Naruto burned for good measures. He didn't want anyone trying to collect DNA samples from the Uchiha's remains. Good job, Naruto. At this rate, you will bleed the treasury dry of funds with all the missing nins you have been killing off, commented Tsunade while the 3 squad of Anbu were behind her in case things went south for Naruto in the barrier. Yeah, well, it is what it is, said Naruto before the barrier went down. I was expecting more from him, remarked Tsunade about Obito. This guy hasn't been in real fight since the one he had with my father, the night I was born. Even when he did, the jerk was evasive, always using his Sharingan to even the odds against him when the phasing and teleportation he used. Answered Naruto, while wondering how his father could have been challenged by Obito at that time. Thought to be fair, the man was dealing with rescuing his newborn son. His wife just gave birth to said son, and a giant fox rampaging around Konoha. Your actions will no doubt reach the other shinobi villages. If the Tsuchikage doesn't have a heart attack soon after hearing you have killed so many missing nins, he will once word of your heritage reaches his ears. Says Tsunade, knowing it wouldn't be long before she had to announce Naruto's heritage to the village and the storm it brought with it. So long as he and Eva left all grudges die with my father, I don't give a crap, but if he starts something, I will end it, said Naruto while Tsunade nodded, since she respected him for that. While Minato struck fear into the heart of the Eva and the Sandam Tsuchikage during the Third Shinobi War with his Harashino Jutsu, Naruto and what he just did to so many S-rank missing nins will make them shit their pants. I hate to say this, Brad, but at this rate, you'll take the hat from me in another 2 or 3 years, commented Tsunade while Naruto smirked. Maybe I should get it sooner. Having to walk in your nursing a major hangover from drinking too much the previous night seems a valid enough reason to give me the hat, said Naruto while Tsunade glared at him. Watch it, Brad. I can still punch you all the way to Nami if you piss me off, threatened Tsunade and shaking her fist at him. What was that? Did you say something? Asked Naruto while giving her a nice smile. Oh, that's it. Come here, Brad. I'm going to smash your face in, exclaimed Tsunade while she chased Naruto around the training ground and the Anbu watched now, sporting a sweat drop coming back from the heads of their masked faces. Should we say something? Asked an Anbu ferret while watching Tsunade try and fail to smash her fist into Naruto, who at the point leaped into the air and flipped her the bird and blew a raspberry at the woman. Do you want to die or be
sent to the ER and ICU, asked the Anbu captain, while they saw Tsunade looking livid and continued her pursuit of Naruto into Konoha. That depends. Do I get hazard pay? And if I do, how much? Asked Faradanbu while hearing Tsunade cursing Naruto the deeper they went into Konoha. In order? No. And even if you did, it wouldn't be enough to cover your medical bills, said Anbu captain, since the new Farad had been looking for an excuse to get on some vacation time. Though there was less painful ways to do it. Konoha's hospital room, Jiraya's room later night. Sleeping well, Arasanin? Asked Naruto while walking into their room casually. So you have come crawling back to me. A new word crumbled Jiraya while Naruto smirked and stepped out from the darkness and showed the sun in his eyes. He couldn't be more further from the truth. The Akatsuki is no more. Your former student Nagato is dead. Your second student Konan gave me the man's eyes to use how I see fit. The Uchiha who freed the fox from my mother is dead too. I killed him. I've done what you couldn't, not twice over. I avenged your pathetic sensei by killing his most favorite of students, and avenged my parents by killing the man who murdered them, though his machination the night I was born, said Naruto while Jiraiya gritted his teeth in anger and frustration. You shouldn't have those eyes. They are not meant for an immature brat like you, said Jiraiya bitterly. And who do you think is a better choice, you? Kakashi? Maybe some other person who is a big fan of your cheap smut, perhaps. Do you honestly think that Tsunade or even Konan would trust these eyes to a whiny man-child like yourself? They would sooner revive the infamous Uchiha mother and start the next shinobi war before entrusting you with such things, said Naruto coldly while Jiraiya glared at him with an intense amount of hate. And you are a better choice? A whiny brat who couldn't handle the QB and whined like a baby when I didn't give him the bottle? Countered Jiraiya angrily. First, I am far a better choice over you, Arasani. The Toads did what you could not and would not do. They took my training seriously. They saw greatness. They knew your way of doing things was a fast track to a quick death simply because you didn't give a shit. As for whining like a baby, aren't you being a tad hypocritical? How many times did you whine to your fanciest throwing sensei when he favored the snake over you in terms of training? How many times did you whine when no one gave you the respect you claim to deserve for peeping successfully on women for one day without being brutally beaten to a pulp? How many times did you whine when my mother viciously stopped you from mooching off my father and his fame during his shinobi career? Do not speak to me about whining and not getting my bottle from you, Arasanin. We both know you have been trying to milk multiple bottles for years just to stay relevant. As for right now, the tap for any such bottles is officially turned off, said Naruto coldly while Jiraiya was livid at being told his attempts to stay in the limelight and cast in the shadow were over now. If he only knew Naruto destroyed the statue using exploding tags filled with nature chakra to turn the area underneath Ame with Konohan's assistance into a giant sinkhole. You can't do this to me. People will know something has happened. When I'm not around, important people who read my books, people who love my smut, when they find out you and Tsunade are keeping me like this, they will march here as an army to liberate my person, stated Jiraiya while mentally envisioning his newly formed army of loyal readers, both civilians and shinobi, alike storming Konoha to free him from the hospital for prison. Don't be full of yourself, you're not that important. You're lucky I'm paying for your funeral, said Naruto before he started to walk away. Funeral? What are you talking about? I'm not dead, protested Jiraiya angrily when he saw Naruto stop and look back at smirk. Officially, you will be labeled dead tomorrow. Source: a couple hundred STDs found in your system and mutated into a big super bug that caused your dick to fall off, your testicle to shrivel up, and ultimately cause your heart attack to explode with stress. As for the real story, you are going to fade away in here, in the darkness of this room, all alone, slowly wasting away. So enjoy, Jiraiya, said Naruto while Jiraiya looked shocked. What? You can't do this to me, exclaimed Jiraiya while Naruto smirked. This is your punishment, Irasanin. I beat you in a combat. I surpassed you in just about every single way. Wasn't hard to do actually, commented Naruto while Jiraiya seated in his body cast and glared at the boy. I'll heal eventually, brat. I always do. And when I get out of here, the world will know the truth, exclaimed Jiraiya while Naruto suddenly turned around and became deadly serious before walking over to the now slightly afraid Sanin. The truth? Truth? You want to talk about the truth? How about I reveal the truth of how you kept so much from me? Or used an old toad beyond his prime to see into a possible future. Use it for your own goals. How you provoked the people to turn on Orochimaru, resulting in him joining Danzo's route, allowing the Warhawk to twist his mind and become the very monster Konoha has feared for years. Or how you and the Sandam lied to me for years just so the Kyuubi Jinchuriki would remain stupidly loyal to people who hate him. Maybe I should reveal the truth about how you knew I was your godson and the Yondam's son, and still treated me like I was just mindless weapon to control. Or how about the truth that you have forced female spies in your network to sleep with you, or else information about their past is revealed? I'm sure a lot of people would love to know the truth about how the great and gallant son in Jiraya got off on practical raping women within his own spy network, both before and after getting information from them, right? Hasnar cold, while Jiraya was now shocked, afraid, and angry all mixed together. You would do that to me? You would destroy my great reputation? My greatness to your own godfather? Demanded Jiraiya angrily at what Naruto was threatening to do. You have no greatness. You have no great reputation. Only an infamous one where the people look at you with disgust. Besides, it's the truth. And another painful truth for you is that they hate you, Jiraiya. No one likes you. No one loves. No one cared about you. They only tolerate you because of your smut, and even that is a stretch. So can you choose to die with only a small sliver of dignity in this room, or you can resist and have your sins exposed to the world with the people demanding you suffer a violent death? Exclaimed Naruto angrily before grabbing Jiraiya's covered skull and yanking him painfully forward at a painful angle. I should have killed you as a baby. I was so tempted to do it. The source of my student's death, the source of the village's pain. I could have done it and achieved some glorious praise from the villagers and shinobi who suffered from the creature's destruction. The only thing that stayed my hand was your usefulness as its weapon, and the fact the Biju would reform in 9 years with no Uzumaki around to hold it, confessed Jiraiya while Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. And leave your precious village defenseless? We both know a shinobi village needs a Jinchuriki for far more than a Jinchuriki needs a shinobi village. Do not act like the value of your life is far greater than someone like myself. It's not. You are worthless, Jiraiya. You have always been worthless. The only reason no one has called you out on the truth of the matter is most likely because there were people who wouldn't tolerate it coming to light. Most likely out of pity. But that besides the point, countered Naruto while Jiraiya was seething in rage at being insulted, aimed at him, and hitting where it hurt the most. You will never bring peace to the world and fulfill the prophecy with that attitude, remarked Jiraiya while not smart. Who said I was going to bring peace to the world? Or fulfill some damn prophecy you are itching to see me happen? I'm not. In a few years, I'm going to become the next Hokage. I will have my dream and ambition come true. If I wants to start a war, let them. Kumo wants to join in the fighting, let them. I will personally crush anyone who tries to take away my village, my home, my precious people, and who live in Konoha. I see to fit that the enemies I face suffer such losses that they piss themselves silly and have nightmares at the very mention of my name. Not yours, Jiraiya. Mine. So enjoy your time in this darkness here. Enjoy the solitude. This is your punishment for being the pathetic loser who was so desperate to get out of the shadows of his betters, setting things in motion that cause all sorts of problems for the world. In many ways, the prophecy you want to see fulfilled is where one of your students has to clean up your fucking mess. As far as I'm concerned, your mess will be removed through the sands of time. Let it be do the work in fixing what you broke, said Naruto before leaving the room. Naruto, get back here, you little shit. I won't be denied what is mine. Naruto, Naruto, yelled Jiraiya angrily. Didn't realize the blonde had put a paralysis seal on his face when grabbed him through the body, cast it so on him so it was impossible for him to move out of the bed. It would be the last time someone ever saw Jiraiya alive ever again. Epilogue. Years later. True to his word, Naruto became the sixth Hokage of Konoha, no matter how the displeasure of some people in the village, but considering there were few alternative choices, those who opposed it was silenced, since Naruto was the strongest shinobi in Konoha. Not only that, but Naruto's heritage was revealed to the populace once ascending to the position of power. Many were shocked by this and realized how much the boy looked like his father. While wondering why they didn't notice it sooner, many blamed the Sandan Hokage, the elders Danzo and Jiraiya, for holding the truth from them from the start. If not for the longest of time, they claimed if the truth had come out, the man's son would have been protected since his birth. Naruto felt they were just being shallow. In his eyes, it shouldn't have mattered if he was the Yondam's son or not. He was still Naruto and was the only one holding the angry Biju from destroying Konoha. If they couldn't accept him as a hero without his father's name attached to it from the beginning, the people were just not truly loyal, just a bunch of morons who were more vain, if not foolish in terms of position, than they ever realized. Morons he was going to have properly educated, truly seeing the gravity of their sheer stupidity, so the next generation wasn't so stupid as them. The first thing Naruto did as Hokage was to add an understanding of Fuinjutsu to the class curriculum of the students, much to the disapproval of some people in the council. some since not everyone had a skill for it. Why add something that not was for everyone? Naruto told them even if they couldn't do Fuinjutsu, it didn't mean the students couldn't understand the principle of understanding the nature of Fuinjutsu. Not only that, but Naruto had felt the system of knowing only 3 jutsu in order to graduate was just not enough for academy students to become a genin. That's why he ordered more than in addition to 3 jutsus. The academy have to go through a large chakra test level, chakra affinity level test, and have all academy students in their assigned classes rotate into random teams taking on special training missions. These types of missions would have assignments handed out by the tuning academy instructor to see who among the academy students worked well together. That way, when the team assignments were decided, the ability to work well together would have been a key factor. As for choosing a Jonin sensei, the Jonins themselves could request a permit squad, but no customizations unless necessary. Also, the Jonin in question would have to give a long list of reasons why they would have been qualified to teach the Genin squad they wanted. If you wouldn't produce a valid reason, it wouldn't happen. As for chakra level test, it was well known that Rock Lee didn't have chakra to use, and Naruto himself had more than previous Hokages put together. As when Naruto wanted to ensure those with such unique circumstances would have a chance to graduate with their fellow classmate. If an academy instructor saw a student was producing too much or too little chakra when taking the test, it was to be reported immediately, saying to student to try harder and not giving them any source of material or finding out what was causing the problem without cut it anymore. If an academy instructor neglected any of their students and used that excuse, they would be fired, anyone imprisoned for it on the charges of sabotaging a potential shinobi of Konoha. Some protested his decision for one reason and another. Some said such things would be expensive to incorporate into the academy. Others said it would be risk showing favoritism to show some of the academy students. Others said such programs are not meant for young shinobi students. But was Naruto's response? Naruto's answer was tough shit. He told them that the current batch of students the academy were producing were weak genins. All of them were placed with a jonin who spent very little time evaluating the team. And he said jonin also being forced to pick up the slack if the team passed the test given. It was unacceptable. In addition, Naruto had retired shinobi or those too injured to be active anymore come out of the academy to teach part-time to help pass down their knowledge to the next generation, providing useful information and training past mission assignments and all of the information from them. And they were put into scenarios under strict supervisions where they all had were each other, their wits, and very few supplies. Sometimes these scenarios had involved no supplies at all, but the clothing they had on them to provide any insight into the life of being a shinobi, so the next generation did not think it was all about fame, glory, rescuing princesses and diamonds like some of the academy students thought the lifestyle entailed. The fact Naruto had done and achieved such things didn't mean they would in his place. Still, the end result of his decision quickly produced results, with the genin that came out of the academy being more prepared for the real world, teamed with those they knew and worked with the best with their given skills, and a jonin who was forced to sit down and actually read their profiles instead of just going for a genin test first and decide on how to train them properly. Approach. If jonins were going to train their genin teams, they were damn well going to put their goddamn effort. As for the paperwork, Snotted thought the boy would be pulling out his hair at the sheer mountain of it. Imagine her surprise when he made 5 shadow clones and had them do all of the paperwork while he kicked up his feet with an annoying smirk when Tsunade angrily called him out on not only knowing how to defeat paperwork but also knowing how to do it for years and didn't tell her at the same time. Naruto just smiled at her and said, "Perhaps I did know how, but if I told you, all the hard work and the responsibility of running the village would have never truly hit its marks as an old hag like you." Tsunade's response, she tried to strangle Naruto, had to be held back by 2 ambush squads, Shizune guy without his weights, and Kakashi using Sharingan to eventually put her to sleep. All the while, Naruto had an annoying smile on his face. It was good to be him in the seat of power. That and revenge on Tsunade for being a neglectful member of his family was sweet. As for Kakashi, the new Hokage wasn't about to let the man get away in life without being punished swiftly, yet very much cruelly. And by cruel, Naruto was thinking of something truly diabolical, if not something close to a war crime. The punishment for Kakashi, he must avoid being hugged in a vice grip by Guy, While that doesn't sound so bad, Kakashi has to read for 1 week straight. Again, nothing too cruel about much of a punishment at first glance, except that guy would completely be naked. Yes, naked. No weights, no clothes, no hiding his youthfulness to the world. But to give Kakashi a somewhat fighting chance of escape, guy would be covered in grass and had to hold on to Kakashi for a good 30 minutes to make it stop ahead of the week ends. Why would Guy agree to this? Because Naruto played on his pride of never refusing an actual challenge, and the hint the new Hokage gave of Guy not being able to carry out his mission/challenge would look badly on the journey's record. It was only natural Guy would jump at the thought of completing such a challenge, while Kakashi got on his knees and begged Naruto while crying guys to reconsider the harsh punishment. Naruto of course looked Kakashi right in the eye and said 5 simple words. Earth-shattering words. Not a chance in hell. Needless to say, the entire week was pure hell for Kakashi. He spent it running throughout the village, dodging, ducking, running, leaping, digging, and everything else short of all out, flying in the air to avoid Guy's naked form, trying to hug him. While he could have let the extremely weird and naked man hug him for 30 minutes and have done with it entire punishment Naruto laid out for him. Kakashi still had some measures for pride in himself, and as a man, what little was left in not being hugged like that. Unfortunately, he was underestimated Guy's persistence in carrying out the mission. On the last day of dodging the naked man, a picture of a supposedly long-lost Uchiha book was being sold, which distracted Kakashi for a solid 5 seconds. These 5 seconds were all Guy needed to leap onto him from behind in a massive bear hug, from which there were no escape. His screams were held throughout the village for miles. The incidents aside, Naruto's progress with his new reforms caught the attention of Iwa and Kumo too, since neither of one liked the idea of beyond them's offspring having the title of Hokage. Both had poor history with a man of one reason or another, and the fact he also was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki was irrelevant. Well, for Kumo it was irrelevant since they didn't see Jinchuriki mindless creature. Iwa was pissed off and scared at the same time. Jinchuriki was seen as a weapon of war and had no right as far as they were concerned. You didn't give a weapon free will to think on how it would or could not fight. As such, Iwa made sure their 2 Jinchurikis were repeatedly disciplined at a young age, told they were weapons of war, had no rights, no real purpose outside of fighting for Iwa, and to have any forms of independent thoughts was treasonous. And naturally true to their previous actions regarding Konoha, the 2 Kages conspired to take Konoha down, or rather attempt to take Naruto down. Something which Naruto knew would most likely happen long before being mentioned offhand somewhere, and had a reformed spy network cover things for him both inside and outside of the village. And truth to be told, the 6th Hokage was no longer surprised by the sheer volume or level of information obtained from it, and it turned out Iwa along with Kumo were being secretly helped by a small sect of the civilian and even the shinobi within Konoha who hated Naruto. It didn't matter if his father was the former Yondan Hokage or not, they hated his reforms, his changes, the policy, and the fact those who wronged him were punished one way or another, further crueler, and fueled them to secretly commit treason. They had even hired several of Danza's route that went into hiding. The old Warhawk had not put these men on his secret roster, yet due to recent the time was when entering into the ranks just before his death. They apparently felt they owed Danzo to kill the one who ended his life and destroy the village rather than see their lord the murderer have it in his place. Such a pitiful and spiteful bunch. It didn't take long to round up all the traitors within the village and put them to the sword after revealing their crimes to the masses. He had already spent copies of the proof to the fire daimyo to further validate the decision to execute them all before anyone within Konoha became a possible sympathizer and knew people with influence who could make some appeal on a guilty person's behalf. As for Iwa and Kumo, they were met with quick but brutal beatdowns by Naruto along with his chosen Anbu squad he assigned himself when reports came in for an incursion from both villages. Each time Naruto was on the battlefield, he sent the enemy's shinobi back to their village in pieces, with a warning each time with one survivor to tell both Kages to back or else. They chose or else. When both Kages sent their Jinchurikis against Naruto in hopes to the number form both Bijus from their respective sides would be their advantages, only for Iwa to lose both their Jinchurikis to Naruto after killing the Iwa Anbu with them and the Hokage meeting everyone within a shared mindscape where they could talk without any interruption. After removing the various seals that were on Han and Roshi, they ensured they were punished should they possibly step out of line. Naruto took them back to Konoha, keeping their status as Jinchuriki a secret. The sixth Hokage merely called them defectors who wished to leave the cruelty of Iwa behind for greener pastures. Naturally, it raised a stink with the Tsuchikage, who demanded the return of his weapons when the daimyos had called for a sit-down to prevent a war from happening. Naruto's diplomatic response was, if you didn't want to lose either one, they shouldn't have been on the front lines, not to mention how they were treated since birth and how Iwa saw them as things instead of people, throwing down stolen files and showing just how Iwa treated Jinchuriki since the Shodan Hokage divided up the Bijus in order to promote peace. This was in many ways Naruto's response to the Tsuchikage and Uzumaki, which was, in a sense, a big fuck you with the two middle fingers to the old man. As for Kuma, B was given his own beatdown. As for Nijiro, when they fought with Naruto in battle, when an offer was made to join Konoha, they refused, as two were loyal to their village. Still, the fact Naruto beat both Jinchurikis at their best and barely looked winded made the Raikage rethink his aggressive strategy aimed at taking down his late rival son, which was annoyingly the smart move as the Raikage's part since Naruto intended to cripple A and Kumo in the event he didn't back off. Not only that, but given how Naruto had the Sage's Eye, both the 8 and 2-tailed Bijus told their vassal that under no circumstances would they give their power to fight the blonde Hokage, not just because Kurama's shield inside of the man, but the eyes were those of their fathers. To them, it would be as if they were fighting the very man who gave their life to them. Not only that, but the 7-tailed Biju named Fu had found her way to Konoha after returning away from Taki. When asked why she came, the green-haired girl told them Chomi had heard through her bond with the other Bijus of your action. She wanted to be free from the hatred of her village had for her and to not be treated like an attack dog for them. In fact, Fu had never set foot in Taki, but was always speaking to a handler who had sent orders from the Taki Shinobi Council to protect villages or else face the painful consequences. And naturally, such a story pissed off Naruto to know, and since it wasn't fair for Fu in the slightest that she had to fight for jerks in a village that wouldn't even let her live in. Naturally, an envoy from Taki came for hearing was Fu there. The man practically that Konoha surrendered their weapon immediately, banging his fist on Hokage's chest, raving about village security and threat of defying aid to Konoha during the wartime if they didn't have their property back. How they would do everything in their power to aid Konoha's enemies and see if the village was burned to the ground, with Taki taking everything and anything they want. In response to the threat, the answer was beating the living shit out of the man and sending the asshole to Ibiki for answers. As it turned out, the man was a part of the Takinin waiting outside of Konoha for him as well as Fu. Once the girl was in their possession, they were going to bring her back to Taki, where the Biju would be ripped off and placed into a new Jinchuriki, one where they could remold into being a loyal attack dog and boundary seal. They were working on to keep their Jinchuriki within certain radius of their village. If the Jinchuriki went past the boundary, the seal would activate, shocking the user and alert the assigned Takinins to bring their target back to be punished. To make matters worse, the group of Takinins intended to take certain liberties with Fu along with the way back to their village. If she got pregnant along the way as a result, it didn't bother them, as soon as none would acknowledge the child might be used as the new Jinchuriki anyway, while Fu herself was kept unconscious in a medically induced coma the entire time during her pregnancy. With that in mind, Naruto ordered 2 ambush squads to find the exact location where the group of Takinins were located. After they did, they ordered to kill them all and put their bodies on large crates. Once the order was carried out, Naruto had set crates dropping blood from the dead bodies strapped to the back of the Takinin envoy and told him to return back to the village with that little dignity he had left, while delivering the message to those running to Taki. Try this shit again and I'll burn your fucking village to the ground, with the giant tree you have being turned into the world's largest pile of ash. I will do what Hashirama did not have the balls to do and what my mother Uchiha could only have dreamed to do. Should you so much as think up of plan, think that again. Needless to say, Taki did not complain about the loss of Fu ever again. As for Kiri, they had decided to stay neutral in regards to Konoha since they were still recovering from the past sins of the Sharingan influenced Yagura, but Naruto had been able to square away some measures of goodwill towards them by returning Samehara to them as well as letting them know where Kubiriko Bocho was located in Wave. He only asked that if they took the sword from the grave of Zabuza Momochi, a suitable, respectful grave marker be put in its place. In addition, he asked that the grave next to Zabuza not to be disturbed under any circumstances. If it was Naruto, made it very clear that Kiri would wish they were still fighting the civil war with Yakuza. Needless to say, Kiri had no intention of proving the sixth Hokage with a threat like that, and knowing Naruto had the power to back it up. As for Suna, it was on good terms with Naruto, while Gaara being Kazekage. It helped in their regard since both men had mutual respect for one another, given what they both went through growing up. Add to the fact that Temari married a certain lazy Nara Shikamaru to further cement their alliance between the two villages. Naruto found it hysterical that Shikamaru's feet were consumed in sand, Gaara's to keep him from running while Naruto himself performed the marriage ceremony. The lazy Nara had gotten the woman pregnant months prior to it, and Gaara had demanded see any and all terms and definitions pertaining to threats of inflicting painful bodily harm. That one Nara Shikamaru marries his sister right away when the news reaches him about it. The Nara would have tried to flee in terms of taking a long-strang mission, but any attempt was stopped by Naruto, who smirked at the bleeding Nara at the time, and Shikamaru's mother, Nara Yoshino, in the room with them. The strict woman was crying, carrying her ever-fear-induced frying pan of doom before she dragged the bleeding lazy bastard out of his office, while he left nail marks all along the floor in the process. And yet, despite the whole thing being troublesome, Naruto knew that Shikamaru was a happily married man. Sure, he took a few hits to the head via Temari's iron fan, but nothing Shikamaru couldn't taken, given his track record with his own mother with her frying pan. It was Nara family's tradition for the wife to give their husband the occasional hit to the skull when they were being lazy, or call their wife troublesome. As for Naruto himself, he had planned to rebuild his clan with the aid of a woman in his life who cared about him. Those individuals in his life were Hyuga Hinata, Mitara Shianko Shizuka. She came after him after doing much soul searching in her life and was able to prove herself worthy, but had to live in Konoha. And his just distant enough cousin, Uzumaki Karen. After finding her in one of the Orochimaru's lab, they had found out about Naruto's wanting to rebuild the Uzumaki clan and decided they would help him in that regard. It was the least they could do for him outside of their own love for the blonde Uzumaki, considering he had helped them out on multiple levels. Even for Hinata, was expecting to soon give birth to their son Boruto. She was going through the painful contraction, crying out in pain, trying to crush Naruto's hand with her now suddenly obtained super strength granted to her from the wind. You did this to me! Suffer! Suffer as I suffer! Yelled Hinata while she kept trying to crush his hand, and her eyes were blazing with fury. Only Naruto wasn't feeling any of the pain. How is this possible? The answer lay in the Fuinjutsu. He put on his hand while Hinata was currently squeezing his bone-crushing grip. The seal he put on would transfer the pain to someone else who unknowingly had a seal on their hands. As to the unsuspecting person, well, which Shikamaru. Why? Why am I feeling pain so much? Yelled Shikamaru while gripping his hand and rolling on the floor. Served the lazy bum right. He actually tried to get a long-term mission around the time I was going into labor with our child. Crushing his hand during the construction was too merciful. This is so much better to watch him and see from this perspective, thought Temari with a smirk while feeding their child and seeing her husband suffer. Naruto had secretly put the seal on Shikamaru after the man had fainted from the pain he got from holding Temari's hand during his pregnancy. It wasn't hard to convince her to let him do it in secretly, giving Suna woman hormonally imbalanced state when giving birth. The angry at the time woman demanded the lazy bum suffer long after she had brought their child into the world, and Naruto's proposition fit in perfectly with her form of revenge. Why aren't you helping me? It hurts, yelled Shikamaru while Temari just watched Shikamaru rolling on the ground in the pain while their child laughed at the man's suffering. Back with Naruto. I'm not giving you any other child after this. Never, yelled Hinata while she glared at Naruto, while he looked completely calm despite the voice grip his wife had on his hand, currently turning purple from the strength applied on it. They say that now, but later will come the apologies, kissing, groping, and apology sex that comes up with it. Thought Naruto from his past experience with Anko, Shizuka, and Karin with their pregnancies. Naruto was actually surprised Shikamaru didn't realize what was wrong with his hand or suspected what was wrong had been done to him. Then again, the man was dealing with his own wife, their child Gaara, and as his brother-in-law, and they were in overwhelming pain the seal on Shikamaru's hand sent when Naruto's wives tried to hurt their husband when in labor. Oh well, best not to think of it. After all, why make a Nara suspicious, eh? As this is where I'm going to be ending the story of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more stories like this. And this is Apollo Uchiha, and I'm signing out. Peace.